Oh my God, I'm so excited. It's Emil.
Hey Sam, how are you? How's work?
Hi. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Friendlies, brought to you by the Women's Game. Today on the podcast, we have one of my closest friends, defender for Gotham in the U.S. Women's National Team, Emily Sonnett. Sonnett is a World Cup champion, an Olympic gold medalist, a 7-time She Believes Cup champion, a 2-time NWSL champion. So I guess it's safe to say that the champ is here. Sonnett also survived calling handball on Alex Morgan during her very first U.S. Women's National Team camp, which we will get into more later. Sonnett, welcome back to the Women's Game.
Hey Sam, how are you?
Sonnett, I'm so excited that you're here. This is making my whole day.
Whole day, not even week.
I mean, it is making my whole week. I hope it's making everybody's whole week. Did you see that we asked for fan questions for you today and we got hundreds of responses?
Yeah, I actually saw it. Yeah, I saw it in my DMs and I said to Lynn, I said, "Do you think I should last minute cancel?" And she goes, "Do you want to?" She goes, "Do you want to see her spiral?" And I said, "Yes."
Lynn knows that I would have spiraled because we've got a tight turnaround for this interview. It's coming out this very week.
Oh, cool. Glad I'm here.
I know. I'm glad you're here too. Okay. This episode of Friendlies is made possible by our other great friends at Ally. We are so proud to be teaming up with a brand that's so committed to growing women's sports. So again, thank you to Ally. Sonnett, let's get into it. You're in the midst of NWSL playoffs in a year where you just also happened to win an Olympic gold medal. What can you tell us quickly about your life outside of soccer? Like, how would you describe what your life is like right now?
I feel like we're traveling a lot, racking up the miles, finding time to relax. But I guess really soccer, come home, sit on the couch, and then repeat.
Yeah. Have you been taking the ferry into New York City a lot or
I've
no?
been taking the ferry a lot into New York. It's great, 7 minutes over. Get
Yeah.
some the other day, went got some sushi, came back. Very easy. It's one of my favorites.
You door dashed for yourself.
I have done that, but this time I actually walked, sat down at a restaurant, and then
Nice.
ate, and then ferried back.
So all my Gotham friends live in Jersey City, and so when I went there, I was too. When I've been visiting them there in Jersey City, I'm so afraid to use the path, which is like the subway system that gets Jersey City into New York City. And Sonnet showed me how to take the ferry, and now like it's the only mode of transportation that I understand. So like I would take the ferry
Wait, did you
every
do it by
single time.
yourself? Did you do it by
The,
yourself?
the ferry, yeah,
Yeah, so easy. It's like
it's
once you
so
do it, you're not
easy.
scared. Once you do it, you're not scared.
I just need somebody to show me, and then I get it. And now I'm just like, I'll take the ferry every single time I can.
I'm the same way. Rose had to show me the path. Now I'm fine with the path. I showed her the ferry, and now the ferry's
Mm.
easy.
I
Yes.
cannot imagine a world where Rose showed you the path.
Believe me neither. But she figured it all out, and that's how I learned it.
I am so proud of her. So it sounds like you've had some good sushi recently. Any other good meals you've been having?
No, I cooked. We've been on the road a lot. I cooked. I
That's
cooked.
nice.
I've been cooking a lot of steak, Sam. You would like it. I go to my butcher down the road.
I love that for you.
Yeah.
I do. I really, really like that. All right. It sounds like it's been really chaotic, and we're going to get into Gotham. It's your first season with Gotham, which is a club that won the NWSL championship last year. You guys came in third in the regular season this year, but you were part of a group of huge offseason signings for Gotham. Rose Lavelle, Crystal Dunn, Tierna Davidson, and you all made the move here after the team won the championship last year. What does signing players like that list, like yourself, like what does Gotham doing that tell you about the aspirations of the club and the goals of what Gotham wants to achieve?
Yeah, I think obviously having four big signings, a couple other signings in the off season, obviously speaks to what they want to do here. We knew, I think the biggest thing that I gained from that this is a club that wants to have a competitive environment in every position. You want to be competing every weekend. But I think what drew me here, and it was funny, we said this in the beginning of the year, all four of us didn't really talk. I obviously talked to Rose about coming here, but all making the same decision to come into a
Mm.
competitive environment. Well, not only win games, but you're hopefully getting better with the players around you.
So you're saying that like it's not like you, Crystal, Rose, and Tierna were in a group chat being like, let's all
Let's
go to
go.
Gotham, but you kind of all independently made the decision and chose Gotham because there was like this laundry list of reasons to choose Gotham.
Yeah, and I also very specific to each one. Crystal, hometown,
Yeah.
Tierna, wanting to move. I want to be back East Coast, like kind of taking all the full picture, and does it fill all the buckets that I want? But overall, it's been the competitiveness that the club wants to build.
Yeah. Well, so when the four of you signed, everybody immediately started calling Gotham a super team. And I do think that like you have found that and you have found that chemistry, but it took a little bit of time to adjust. So I'm wondering, even like socially, how did you guys integrate yourselves into what was already a really well established and successful team?
For me personally, I've been jumping around a few teams each year, so it's obviously a slow integration. And then when you get towards the end of the year, teams either click or they don't. I think you see this with probably the top four teams for this year, and how you're clicking on the field. Are you guys having that chemistry on the field?
Hmm.
It's definitely slow integration, but how do you have a few friends? How do you open up a little bit, and then how do you carry that? It's such a long season. How do you carry that to the end of the year?
Yeah. Well, you've had a really strong season individually. I mean, I think a lot of times, like club football during a world tournament year takes like, I don't know, kind of like comes in second. And like oftentimes national team players who are away for 8 weeks over the summer, like have a lot of ups and downs in the season. But I feel like you haven't. Like you have been so consistent, so strong defensively for Gotham. And in my opinion, one of the most consistent defensive presences, not just at Gotham, but in the whole league. So I'm curious, from the outside, it appears that you have been so consistent and so steady. But I am curious, like, it's not without challenges to go away for a long time over the summer and then come back. What kind of ups and downs have you experienced as a player during this season being on a new team?
I think I start from the beginning. I'm playing more of a midfield position and then leaving, then playing as a defender, coming back. So I do feel like the integration is slow, like we just talked about. I do think over the years, for me, I'm not going to be a goal scorer. I'm not going to be making huge attacking plays. So how do I have that consistency over a long period of time? Consistency with national team and with club, and have it like repeated. I think that probably took me 4 years to really get that down. Working with sports psych, working with an
Mm.
analyst, so I can understand exactly where I'm falling short and where I'm not. So you can kind of come back to even, and how do you kind of have this consistent year or years back to back?
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about working with an analyst?
Yeah, I a couple years ago was like, how am I gonna up my game? I'm really big into numbers, and how I probably look at like 20 to 23 categories at the end of every year and quarterly, and I will look into defensive duels, aerial duels, progressive passes, where am I passing the ball, and I kind of am I hitting the numbers that I need to be hitting from previous years? Some of the best center backs who are playing in Europe here. So I think it's a great tool, to understand how well you're performing, or if you're underperforming. It's just information and how you can attack, practice or training going into games.
I think that's so cool. And this is someone that you like hire as an individual to help you look at these numbers and metrics.
Yeah.
And what is like a category that's really important to you or something that you like see yourself excelling in week over week or year over year?
Probably just turning lateral passes into progressive passes. I think you see in the NWSL more teams are having more ball retention. It's not huge transition anymore, even though people are taking advantage of transition.
Uh-huh.
So how are the balls that center backs are playing forward, and where they're playing forward, are getting way more important. So how can I turn those lateral passes,
Yeah.
Samantha, into progressive
That
passes?
is so interesting, Sonnett. I do think you're really good at that. And I'm having this vivid flashback of our college days. One time, everybody, I was playing for UCLA and Sonnett was playing for UVA. And I ran at her. She was playing center back. And I ran at her so fast, thinking I was going to steal the ball from her and then dribble it on a breakaway. And Sonnett cut me so bad. And I like basically fell over and she like dribbled away and probably played the ball progressively right on up the field.
You know what's so funny? I do remember that. And I remember being like, she's moving too fast right now.
I was a train coming in hot,
Really hot.
too hot. Okay, so Gotham beat the Portland Thorns this weekend 2-1. So you guys are now heading into the semifinals this weekend. Your game was played in front of over 15,000 fans at Red Bull Arena, which is a club attendance record. What did that atmosphere feel like? And like, were you nervous at all? I mean, you won a gold medal this year. Like, were you nervous for this NWSL quarterfinal game?
I wasn't nervous, but the fans, it's a really cool feeling. I've been at Portland with tons of fans. I've been at Spirit, tons of fans. Having that turnout was a pretty big deal, and it was incredible. They had fireworks beforehand, quarterfinals, and then actually trying to speak and not hear someone next to you just kind of like explains how the environment was for the night.
Yeah, I have a couple more questions specifically about this Portland game.
Yeah.
Going into it, you knew you'd be defending your national team teammate, Sophia Smith. What is something different about defending forwards that you're so familiar with?
I think in this league, it's like you're defending not only skillful players, but they're also very fast. They're dynamic. So how are you planning ahead of time for that? I'm not slow. I'm not fast. So how are you being a little bit smarter? I think there's a lot of credit that I get to play with Tierra Davidson, Ann in goal, Jess Carter, Jenna, Mandy, Sam Hyatt. Like we're all talking about the small nuances about that
Mm,
because if you can defend fine, but fine sometimes isn't good in this league. It takes one or two chances in behind, and then they have you
yeah.
in another advantage.
Okay, so we have one of these fan questions that we spoke about. EK Sager on Instagram wants to know about the VAR delay that happened in the Portland game. So, for people who may not have seen the game, there was like this really long delay around the 60th minute where the ref was checking a possible handball in the box. And on TV, it looked like both teams just like bolted to the middle of the penalty box, like right around the PK spot. And we're just like all chatting together in a big group, like laughing and like waiting for the call to come back. Can you just talk us through like why you all matriculated to this spot? And then like what was being said? Like what was going on in that circle?
I think you're told as a team like you need to protect the spot. So both teams are trying to protect the spot. I think
Like the
Portland,
PK
the
spot.
PK spot, you don't know, people can get nasty, they can ruin it. It's like an advantage, like psychologically, it's like you're taking a bigger amount of space. You just want to protect that area. I think Portland was did that. We then tried doing that, and then maybe the referees didn't like that. And then it just took a really long time. Then we started maybe just chatting. Like
Just chatting.
nothing much was said other than this is taking a while. They're all convincing that it didn't happen. I don't see it, but I'm obviously saying, yeah, it happened. So it's
Obviously.
obviously. But yeah, pretty long delay and ended up not being a handball. So that was about it. I wish I had more to tell you.
I know. I wish you did too. I do feel like the camera was on your face a lot. It was on Becky's face a lot. Sink, Rose, the ref. And I was like, wow, what
Oh,
a group. Like, are you guys all talking about something?
I think each group told the other group to relax a few times, which is like obviously like you tell a woman to relax, she probably
It's not gonna
relaxes.
relax.
Um, uh, yeah, I wish I had a better story for you, but it was just a little side chats, and that's about it.
That's okay. It is interesting, I think, for people to hear like protecting the penalty kick spot because I think I don't know. There was these studies that came out a few years ago. I know we talked about this with the national team a lot, where there was all this like psychological data about like how to score PKs, and one of the ways to give your team an advantage, like you explained, was to like get somebody from your team to like stand on the spot like right when the call is made. And it seems kind of like weird, but it sounds like that's what everybody was trying to do.
Yeah, have a protector, who has the ball? Is it gonna, I don't know. Yeah, so maybe it would have worked if we got it. Who knows?
Yeah, it didn't end up being a PK. Okay. So something else I've noticed about Gotham throughout this season, but especially in this quarterfinal game against Portland, is your depth. Like you guys are so stacked. And Lynn and I were talking about this earlier this week on Good Vibes, which is our other podcast on it. But your subs in that quarterfinal game were all players who have been starters at some point this season. Jenna Neiswanger, Bruninia, Delaney Sheehan. Those players are subbing on and like keeping the level really high, if not raising it. And I'm curious if it helps your team mentally, knowing that you have such consistency, such experience coming in off the bench, especially during playoffs when maybe other teams are a little bit depleted.
Yeah, I actually think this is probably the first team that I've played on, other than the Portland team that I was on the first 4 years of my career, with in terms of depth. It's definitely a good feeling when you see players who have started, who have played multiple minutes, big
Mm-hmm.
minutes, and played in big games, scored big goals for us, and they're coming off the bench. I think everyone understands for a game like what their role is, and having big time players come off the bench like that is obviously a boost.
Yeah, for sure. Well, looking to this weekend, you're playing the Washington Spirit on Saturday, and you'll have another big job as part of the back line defending against Ashley Hatch and Trinity Rodman. What do you think are Gotham's strengths in a game like this, and what's the focus on winning this semifinal and getting yourselves to the final?
Yeah, I think, Spirit has had a really good year. We've obviously not matched up well against them or have come on the losing side twice. I think it's concentration and being consistent over the 90 minutes. I think I said earlier, defensively, being able to work with players like Ann, Tierna, Jenna, Mandy, like having a group that's really concentrated on rest defense, but then you also, how are you sparking the attack and giving it to the game changers, for an attacking game plan. I think it's being us, and having that consistency, over 90 minutes.
Yeah. It sounds like your defensive group on Gotham is working really well together. You just referenced one thing, rest defense, that I was hoping you could explain a little bit more for some of our listeners who might not know, including me, what that is.
Sure. So, countermeasures, or I think something that Spirit Trinity likes to get in behind. They're very dynamic up top. How are you positioning yourself to have an advantage, when the other team gets the ball and is trying to transition forward? And I think that's something that we concentrate a lot on. A lot of teams do, obviously,
Yeah.
but how are those fine details against, some of the best players in the world?
Yeah. So it's like even when your team has the ball, you're thinking about, well, when we turn this over, am I in an advantaged enough position to recover on defense and protect us still?
Yeah, like a quarter of my brain is when I'm sleeping, when I'm playing. It's
Eating
rest.
sushi, taking the ferry.
This part is rest defense. This part is progressive pass, and I'm not going to tell you the rest. That's a secret.
No, I don't think we can handle the rest, to be honest with you. All right. Well, I'm very excited about Gotham. I would love to pivot and talk about the national team a little bit. We did already speak to you after the Olympics in a very special in-person interview with Rose Lavelle, which is still available on our YouTube, everybody, if you haven't seen it. It was an incredible episode. But since then, Sonnett, you've had some more huge moments with the national team, including reaching your 100th cap, which is a milestone that we've spoken a lot about recently as Rose got hers and Mal got hers. But I would love to hear from your perspective. What did it mean to you to reach 100 caps with the national team?
It felt really good. I think, you know this. My position on the national team has never been a starter. It's very much, what role am I filling, for that tournament, for that training. It could be outside back, center back, six role. Um, it definitely felt, good, and felt like what I've done with the national team was really worth it. And people say no one's journey is the same, and mine definitely was. I could say like everyone's so unique, but it definitely was a really good feeling alongside of being able to celebrate with like Mal and Rose, who also got their 100th caps.
I know it was crazy timing, like to have that group get reach these milestones at such a similar time. I was like a little bit jealous because I would have loved to be there so bad, but I also saw it like particularly for you. I was so proud of you because I think that I've said this so many times about us, but like we sat on the bench and didn't play in so many games that I'm like, if you got a cap for that, we would both be like have record caps. Like we sat on the bench so much.
I like asked one of the people. I was like, "Can you do like kind of like Sonnet by the numbers? Like
Yeah.
I want to see like the funny." like numbers. And I think I sat through, I think it was almost like more than 50 games. So I'm like, you don't always get to play.
You don't always get to play. That we know for sure.
But if you try to find a way to stick around, you might find out.
Well, I think that is what's so fascinating about your career. And I have some questions in here about like what role do you think you've played? And people talk about your versatility so much. And so I think where I want to start is like, what did sitting on the bench so much, like being starting, I think with being an alternate in 2016, we did that together. I know that we both felt like we almost got cut before the 2019 World Cup at the tail end of 2018. What did those moments do to set you up to now reach this point of getting 100 caps through all of those ups and downs?
Uh, I don't know. I think I watched a lot of soccer. Like I watched a lot. I watched a lot of tactical changes. I watched subs be made and me not go on. If anything, it fueled me to want to be better and keep going and keep reaching. To see if maybe I could get 100 caps. Maybe I could start. Maybe I couldn't. What role?
Okay, so you're talking about like those moments fueling you. And I think that one moment I will literally never forget, and I want to know if we can tell the story here, is the bloodbath story.
Kansas City.
Kansas City, small sided. It's like a 4v. I want you to tell it.
I think I remember it's like wicked hot. It's like 4v4. It's a game changer subs training. It's like they somehow put all the young players versus all like these veterans. Do you remember who it was like?
We've like told this, so people are probably gonna correct us, but I swear to God, it was like Heyo, Krieger,
Rieger.
Carly,
Yeah.
and like Kelly. Like it was like absurd.
And it was like us and like I like honestly don't even know. Like and I think I remember just looking at you being like, let's go. Like this is like we're gonna win 4v4. And like it was like
Yeah.
such a bloodbath. It was such a tight grid. So like it felt like a bloodbath because you could like be blocking shots. Everything was a shot back then. It's like everything was a shot. I mean, obviously Carly Lloyd, it's like everything's a shot. So like you're blocking, doing anything you can. That was probably one of the few trainings I was like, yeah, like it's like it feels like you're going to get cut if you don't
Yeah.
do well.
But we played out of our minds. And we, like, no disrespect to the other people on our team, we like single-handedly like won. And I literally was like, you guys should show this to the rest of the team. Like me and Sonnett deserve so much credit
Like
for this right now.
like what does grit mean? And
Yes.
it's just like a moving picture.
Yeah. But like, and look, this is not to say that like I didn't have bad training sessions, but like that was an example of like we were fighting for our lives. Like we were like rats in a bucket of water that were like going
Yeah.
like this at the side, like please don't cut us. Like we're last on this at this camp. And we just like I feel like that's why we got to stick around in moments that for whatever reason we were last on the roster is because we wanted it that bad.
Yeah, and I think now looking back at it, it's like that's only helped with NWSL and every other environment that I've been in. It's like maybe I feel like I should be starting, but it doesn't matter. You still have to like you still
Scramble
have
up the
to
bucket.
I don't know, you still have to work. You still have to work.
You do. You definitely still have to work. Well, I think this is kind of the last national team question that I have is like, you're complimented so often on your versatility. Like going into the Olympics, I was ranting and raving to anybody that would listen about how valuable you were on the Olympic roster because you could play the six if you were needed there. You can play outside back, you can play center back, and you were used in multiple ways and you were needed so bad at the Olympics. And you were such a key component to the team winning that gold medal and the depth that you provided. But I think I'm wondering if you feel like all those championships I named at the beginning of the episode, all these moments that we've talked through, has that been overlooked? Like, you've been so successful on every team you've played on. You're a common denominator for championship teams. Like, do you feel at all that your success and your contributions have been understated?
Mm, I don't know, because I still win the medal. That part feels really good because you're a part of a project. You're a part of a journey with each an individual team. Um, I will say, and I think I've said this might have been with the interview with you earlier. I feel like to survive or be successful for me has looked different. I wasn't going to start, I wasn't going to score. So the consistency is what made me stay at camps, that stayed on rosters. So like how if it was to be versatile, I'm like, yeah, like if that's going to get me on the roster and then maybe there's an injury and maybe I can play. It's like I'm ready for all of it. I'm ready
Mm,
to start. I'm ready to come off the bench. I do think this tournament specifically, everything the 8 or so years beforehand, not playing, being able to start a few games under Jill and Tony, like I was comfortable. And not in a cocky
mm.
way. I just have been put in so many different situations. So not only the versatility of playing, but the versatility of every situation. Like Kelly had to come off in 30 minutes because she was only allotted 30 minutes, and I had to go play the last of the 45 in that half. And I'm kind of like, yeah, my hamstrings are kind of hurting right now, but like I had to go in for 15 minutes in the first half without like maybe a proper warm up. So I feel
Which is
like
like a weird, like that's like a rare
that would
stuff.
never happen. Yeah, that would
Yeah.
never happen because like that was like planned beforehand. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I feel like the 8 years, the versatility of being able to plug myself into any situation, last 5 minutes, closer, starting,
Hmm.
that's where I feel like the other side of the versatility piece, that I'm okay with maybe not starting because I understand my role for that day, but not okay with maybe not starting because I want to be able to perform and like do my best in training, and then understanding day of game. Yeah, this is my role and this is where the team needs me.
Yeah, you have a really, I think, rare and special quality where, like, in training, even the day before the game, if you know you're not starting, you're still like, I'm trying to earn a starting spot every single second. Like, you're so competitive. But as soon as game day comes, you play whatever role the team needs you to play. And it's this balance of like aspiration and competitiveness with like being a really good teammate. And not everybody can play that role so well.
Yeah, and I think maybe when we were still team, I was kind of like, how do I keep making rosters so I can still show them how competitive I am in trainings? Like I have to be versatile. I
Yeah.
have like you're gonna make me play outside back. Okay, whatever, I'm gonna do it because I want to be here. I want to be with this group.
Yeah.
So where do I fit in now? They bring someone else new and they think they want to see it's outside back, and I often move back to center back.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Like how can
I'm
I be the
still here.
best? I'm still here. How can I still be the best center back for that day? The next day I might be training as an outside back. How can I be the best outside back? What am I? And I guess that comes down to like how coachable you are,
Mhm.
but yeah, I think that's just it's not like it's not like when you think about like the perfect career. It's definitely not what you think would happen. It's definitely hard, but that's definitely how I've made rosters and how I've stuck around.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a joy to get to go through some of those moments with you, even though they were so grueling and hard at times. And it's really inspiring to watch you continue to be there and be not only playing the role that you're asked to play, but you are impacting the team in so many ways as well. Okay, I lied. That was not my last national team question, but this is in a different vein and it is of a different time. It was recently revealed on an episode of our other podcast, Good Vibes, that you called a handball on Alex Morgan during your first U.S. Women's National Team camp. And so we have been receiving lots of comments from our faithful listeners to tell this story in full, but I refused to tell it without you. So I wanted to take this opportunity to have you tell this story from your perspective, and hopefully someday we can have Alex on to tell her side.
Wait, who brought it up?
Becky brought it up. We were talking about
I
what it's
love that
like.
girl.
We were
I
talking
love
about
that girl.
like what's a like quintessential first camp moment. And I
Boom.
was, and I, yeah, exactly. And I like told some story, and then Becky was like, "What about Sonnett calling handball on Alex?" And I was like, "Oh my god, no! Change the subject." I panicked.
I think Pino might have said that that was like her top three moments, and I'm like, really?
It's so funny now thinking back on how well you were not panicked. Like you were so cool. Tell the story.
I don't know if I was cool, but like I definitely. Anyway, the tail. of the handball. We were playing small sided. I was a center back. Alex was playing a nine. I think Alyssa had thrown a ball into her, like a longer pass.
And this was what, like 2015 in Hawaii?
Yeah, yeah,
It was like one of your first camps.
yeah. I think it was like
Yeah.
maybe my first, my second, maybe
Okay.
first. It doesn't matter.
Sure.
I was fresh.
Yeah.
I was really fresh. Ball goes in. It like bounced up. I'm behind Alex, and I say handball. People tell the story. It's like I'm ripping my shirt off, screaming handball. Like you would think that I was like face red, steam out of my ears. Handball, she's like, it's not a handball. So the play stopped, and instead of me giving the ball back, I just kicked it off the field because Alyssa already had another ball in her hand. They replay it. I think it comes to me, and then she says handball, maybe. I think there's like a double handball situation. Anyway, so I think nothing of it. I'm like, yeah, I just said handball. It wasn't a handball. Boy, was I wrong. I had people, random people, like, oh my God, you called a handball in training? I was like, yeah, I think it was a handball. And then later that day, I think like we went to the beach. Yeah, it was Hawaii. We went to the beach, and I
Yeah.
remember
And
I
it
didn't
was
know.
like people were like bringing it up.
Yeah, and they were like, yeah, I think you should apologize. I go, to who? I'm like and they were like, no, you need to go apologize like to Alex. And I said, I'm like so uncomfortable. Like, do I actually need to? And I remember you being like, hey, like I really do think that you need to apologize. I don't know you either. Like I was like, what? Oh, over the peas and carrots. Do you remember that line?
Yes, I literally was like, I just think you're like up at the salad bar getting your salad. You should just be like, hey, sorry about earlier. Like, no hard
Oh,
feelings.
like over the peas and carrots. Say sorry.
Yeah. But you
Anyway,
didn't. But you didn't. You stood your ground.
I wasn't trying to stand ground. And I would love to hear Alex's side. Anyway,
I would too.
like fast forward to the Olympics. I'm an alternate, and at the end,
2016, post Olympics, me and Sonnett were alternates, and the team, we lost,
we lost, and then we're all
having
having
drinks after.
having drinks after, and then I think I looked to Krieger, and I think I said something like, "I think I'm going to apologize for the handball," and she goes, "You should." So I stood up on the table and I go, "I have something to say."
So this was like a year later.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't know that this like handball thing was just like holding like over me. I would have apologized a lot sooner, I
And
guess. I
then
don't
and
know.
then you apologized and then we all cheered.
Yeah,
And you and Alex hugged.
yeah, and it was over.
And it was the start of a new generation. And then you know what? 2019, we won the World Cup because this rift had been solved.
The yeah. Um, I'm not happy I called a handball. I do think I'm really ultra competitive, and if I had to go back, I would absolutely do it all over.
I agree. I mean, I think as stressful as it was at the time for me personally being somewhat adjacent to this, it is like that's the national team. Like it is so competitive that fights happen. Like that's what being on the team is. And I think that in a way, in a very deep way that I'm reading a lot into this, like you were being like, I belong here too. And like I'm gonna call it if it's a handball. I'm not gonna just like roll over. And so I think it was cool that you did that. I never would have done it.
I think I like really blacked out. Like I'm telling a story of like a story that someone else has told me
I
back.
know.
Like
I
yeah.
I know. But hopefully someday, Alex Morgan, please, we would love to have you on. We would love to hear your side of the story. It will take 5 minutes. Okay, Sonnett, thank you so much for telling this. Couple quick fan questions. Andrea on X asks, who's the pilot, flight attendant, and passenger for Sam, Sonnett, and Rose? This is so obvious.
Pilot, Sam,
Flight attendant, Sonnett.
flight attendant, passenger Rose.
Yeah, obviously.
Right?
I think it's self-explanatory.
Very.
Okay. Hilariously, MILF on X wants to know what your go-to Waffle House order is.
All-star breakfast, and I get double hash brown with bacon.
Yum.
Yeah.
Okay, it is time for our ally question of the week. We are so proud to be teaming up with a brand that is so committed to growing women's sports. So, Sonnett, what are some of the key lessons you've learned about money management throughout your career?
Yeah, good question. I wish I started using a financial advisor sooner. And other than that, listening to my mom about budgeting. I keep a great budget now using Excel. I wish I would have done that a lot sooner. Is that making you happy that I use Excel?
I mean, I don't know if it's making me happy, but like it's great advice.
Yeah, so I think having a plan and then being able to follow the plan when you fall short or not, that'd be my biggest advice.
Wow, that is incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you so much to Ally, who is such a great partner for us here at the women's game. Okay, Sonnett. I mean, I know you're so busy with playoffs. It's a very busy week. So thank you so much for taking the time to come on. I am really proud of you. I know this was lots of fun and games, but I'm really proud of your career. And we've been through a lot together, and seeing you succeed makes me really, really happy. So I'm excited to see you play with Gotham this weekend against the Washington Spirit, Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS. Good luck, and thank you again for being here.
Oh my gosh, thanks, Sammy. Go Gotham and never forget the bloodbath.
You said it best.